and you're very familiar with that material. But we took that class, and one of the things that came out of that class is we found out that her love language is quality time, and my love language was physical touch. I'm a touchy kind of person. And so once we sort of got that understanding, it was like, oh, so you mean to tell me that even though I'm working and I'm giving you gifts and, and I'm washing your car and I'm performing all of these acts of service, that sometimes when you don't feel loved, and here I am thinking that I'm loving you, but you're not receiving it in the same way, there's the possible discord. Now I understand. And the same with me. So, okay, you're cooking great meals. I appreciate that. Thank you, honey. You packed the lunch for me at work the next day. Great. I appreciate it. Thank you, honey. But, my love fuel tank, so to speak, was getting kind of low because I'm not getting that touch. And so once we sort of understood that as part of our personalities, it opened up our eyes, and it made a world of difference because it was able to enhance the word about how we were able to love each other, but specifically and practically. And so that's what these kinds of classes and retreats can do, because they can enhance the word, they can add to the word, and they can give you greater insight into your spouse than you had before. So I'm all about, proactively doing those things.
And that's not a culture of today. Our culture is reactive. You look at Facebook and all these things. You look at all these things that are going on in the world. We're reactive. And what your ministry and also my business goes over and does is we're more proactive. We go over and say, hey, instead of surviving, let's go to thriving, not just go over and going to dying. So what would you say the main areas that you're trained in that differentiates you from somebody else? Because there's many marriage counselors, and now coaching is opening up and consultants is very rare. What differentiates between you to me to even the Dr. Gary Chapman? So if we had to compare, like, hey, uber awesome dude, Dr. Gary Chapman, and you, and not saying that you're not uber awesome, but he's well known across the world.
Right.
So
Right,
what would be the
right, right.
differences? So
Well, first of all, one of the things that I do is I do credit, I cherish, and I do utilize other people's work when it's appropriate. I don't claim to have all of the answers, and sometimes there are situations where you don't have to reinvent the wheel when there's something that works. If I have a couple and the 5 love languages works for them and it's something that enhances their relationship, I will use that, giving credit to Dr. Gary Chapman. If there's a situation, sometimes love and respect is another tool that I love to use because of some of the concepts that it has. What would make me different, I suppose, is that relationships are my passion. And relationship restoration is one of the things I realized early on that I really, really gravitated to. And so one of the things I do is anytime we get a call with a couple that wants to come in, my wife will do an initial screening, sort of an intake, and give some background information on what's going on. And then based on that information, I try to conduct a personalized session for each couple. So I don't just have a couple cold call and then they come in and then we try and figure out what's going on. What I try to do is I try to anticipate based on what it is that they're struggling with. So if it's an area of communication, if it's an area of intimacy, if it's an area of, if it's a blended family situation, if it's a situation of infidelity, whatever it is, what I try to do is look at that situation and take into account every factor of that relationship. How old is the husband? How old is the wife? How long have they been married? How long was their courtship? And then I try to look at everything in my toolbox that I've got. Let's say they're struggling in the area of communication. So I'll look at everything in my toolbox and try and tailor the session based on that particular client, that client or that couple that comes in. And then once we have our session and we come in, I actually will give them the notes that I've prepared with their names, so that, because what I find is that when couples come in, most don't take notes. They're not in there with pen and pad taking down notes saying, okay, yeah, that's something we ought to consider. That sounds really good. So once we get through our session, not only will I give them the notes that I've researched, but I will also give them my handwritten notes of observations that I've made through the session to give to them to say, okay, now the way ahead, here's some sort of homework for you. Here's some things that you can work on your own until we get to our next session. And so I really try my very best to personalize each session so that couple feels like the tools and the tips and the solutions and everything I'm doing is specific for that situation. So I sort of try to tailor make every session to meet the needs of unique needs of the client.
That's amazing. So you're doing custom-made marriage coaching in a sense. You're bringing it to the table.
I do. And one of the other things I try to do is I try to get the couples I try to initiate conversation between the couples. Something that I came across completely by mistake, I'll give you an example. For my premarital counseling, premarital coaching, I'll have couples that will come in, and I have this exercise where I call it 90 questions in 90 days. And that's for the couples who, if we don't have time, they can take it with them and do one per day. But I'll sort of demonstrate it with them. I take 90 questions, I sort of cut it up on a paper, I'll fold them, and I'll put it into a basket, and I'll put a table in between the couples. And then I'll tell them, okay, each one of you has to pick the question, open it up, you'll answer it, and then your spouse will answer it, or your soon-to-be spouse will answer it. And it is amazing that there will be questions in there that will sort of lead to conversations that sometimes they'll even forget I'm in the room. And here I am in the background just taking notes, just making observations that by the time our time is up, not only do they get some real-time feedback about what I've heard as an objective third party, but I also will give them the basket to go home to continue that conversation over the coming weeks. And that's proven to be something that the couples that I've done premarital coaching with have really, really liked. So I call it 90 questions in 90 days. I'm trying to put together like a box or sort of like a kit that I could give away to couples as an additional resource. But that's sort of something I do that I think is unique. But I try to stay out of the referee business, so to speak, and I try to really get couples to talk to each other.
Yeah, and that's unique, because in coaching we tend to try to take over the entire dynamic and we want to be important sometimes. And we need to remember it's for the couples and you're just a mediator and being a physical representation of Jesus in a sense, and being that filter and buffer and allow the Holy Spirit to work in that particular realm.
Yes, and for the couples that agree to do that, we will typically open up our session in prayer. For the couples, every now and then I'll have a couple who is not a Christian couple, and so we sort of just open up with. I always try to keep some sort of reading material in every session, and sometimes there will be times where I'll have the couples read something, we'll discuss it. So sometimes the coaching session is an actual class that looks like a coaching session, but there are couples that are really learning new principles. They're reading it. They're sort of digesting it. And my favorite moment is when I have either one or the other that'll have an aha moment. Like, for so long I've been stubborn and I've been looking at it like this, but now I'm willing to entertain this point of view. And when I have that happen and the other couple, the other person responds to that and they sort of get excited and start to talk back to each other, it is just awesome. So sometimes I look at myself as just like a facilitator of information. Sometimes I see my role as just helping couples. You're right there. Let me just nudge you in this direction. And then other times it does get heavy. There are some deep-rooted issues that do happen to come out, when we're having some deep conversations. So there's tissue and things that come into play. But at the end of the day, I always try to use humor, and I always try to make the environment as comfortable as possible, because I always try and keep in mind, although I'm very comfortable with seeing couples, there are sometimes couples who are very nervous about talking to someone for the very first time, and how much information do I reveal? How much do I reveal that's comfortable for me? And so I always try my very best to make couples feel at ease and let them know that this is really not about me talking down to you. This is more of me talking with you and you talking with one another as we all, as a team, try and figure out the way ahead, with the power of God and through His Word, and sort of using the wisdom that we all have collectively. So I love it. I truly enjoy it. And it is just something that, and you've heard the saying, when you do something that you love, it doesn't feel like work. We typically have 90-minute coaching sessions, and it is not uncommon for my wife to come knocking on the door saying, hey, at this point, I think you're keeping them hostage. We got to, so we'll laugh about that. But sometimes we can get so into it that we lose track of time. And those are my favorite times, because it's like we're making progress, we're having breakthroughs, we're breaking chains. And that's what it's about. It is just about helping couples to navigate through some things that they never anticipated.
And that's great. So let's say somebody's coming to find you, and this is my last question. We got about 3 minutes left, so you can elaborate on this. So my question is this, is
Okay.
that, so you're in Clarksville, Tennessee, and let's say I'm in Washington, and I want to find your services. What type of services do you offer? How much do you offer them for? Is there any military or any other types of discounts? And what's your end goal for this ministry and coaching? So basically, describe your services and what's your overall end goal for anybody that comes to you and uses your services.
Got it. Okay. Well, we have the main way we've been getting in touch with people has been through our Facebook page. It's called the 180 Marriage Coach, and it's a coaching page that we have on Facebook, and so most people reach us through that. And we, for clients that are outside of the Clarksville area or outside of an area that's within driving distance, then we definitely can set up telephonic services. We do have discounts. The rates are normally about $85 for a 90-minute session. Our premarital coaching is $65 for a 90-minute session. And then there are discounts for military, and I don't have those right in front of me. My wife normally works the business side of it. But certainly anytime that we have someone who just sort of wants to talk and get an idea of what the service is about, what the ministry is about, they could always call and sort of just get a consultation where I will take some time out to just sort of explain to people what we can do, how we can help them. It's mainly about relationships. If it's outside of that, if it's outside of marital, premarital, if it involves, other areas that people are struggling in, we're certainly happy to talk to them and see, because there is some light coaching that I can do. But if it's outside of that, then I'm always happy to help people find services in their respective areas. But Facebook is the best way that folks can get a hold of us. 931-264-5225 is the phone number, and folks can just call and sort of just set up a consultation if they want more information.
And that's perfect. So, and it looks like for us, like we will be continually working with you. We want to partner with you guys, and we love that you sponsored us for this time frame. We're also looking at online courses so we can assist you with that. So, in our audience, just check out 180 Marriage Coach on Facebook. Great opportunity for mobile coaching. They love you where you're at. So, thank you, for Ramon, for the time that you gave in 180 Marriage Coach. Check it out on Facebook, and we hope to see you next week live. So, thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless you, sir.
All right. Thank you.